Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another interview on Everyone Engine. And we've got Jackson Clarke to my right. An absolute pleasure off the back of a fantastic win at Cage Warriors. How are you, firstly?
Great, just like still on a high, really a bit bruised up, but just happy that all went well and it was a good experience.
Yeah, obviously your pro debut, transition over to amateur. How did that feel? Obviously, we were speaking before you went on air. You forgot it was 5-minute rounds, didn't you? So, but talk to me firstly. What was that like? Transitioning to pro.
I didn't forget, but I was like, it's a different setup, and you look up and you see the time and you see yourself on the screen. I was like, oh shit, yeah, it's like big time, 5-minute rounds. But it was good. It didn't feel like any different to training. Obviously, I've been doing 5 minutes in the gym, and it was just like everything we had practiced, everything we had drilled. So it was just, it wasn't easy, but it was like how I had imagined it. You know what I mean?
A hard 15 minutes, to say the least. How good was that? Obviously, as we just talked about transition from amateur to pro, to get a full 15 minutes straight away in the bank. Does that kind of feel good to kind of showcase, like, maybe showcase to yourself as well that you can go a hard 15-minute round fight?
It's just valuable experience, more time under the big lights, like on a promotion like Cage Warriors. It's class, really. It's better than if it had just went 30 seconds and you'd be like, oh, I didn't get to take it all in. But 15 minutes against someone who was experienced as well, it's all just learning in the bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously the call up from Cage Warriors. Talk to me about that. Obviously, you talked to me before you went on air. You almost got the last one, but you got this one. Was it something that you kind of expected? Obviously, pro debut. Big stage. Was that something that you were kind of looking for or expected for your first fight in your pro?
I didn't expect it, but I was definitely wanting it. Like everyone would want that as the first professional debut. Like it's on the biggest promotion in Europe. It's your go-to. I was meant to fight before it, but my fight pulled out, and then I got offered that, and I was like, oh, this is even better. And then I was already had the camp and trained, so it was just a bit longer to wait, and then I got to do it, so it was perfect.
Yeah, and talk to me about the fight itself. Obviously, we mentioned 15 minutes, but talk to me about, obviously, during the fight. You talked about, he's quite unorthodox, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You said you wouldn't react to the feints that you wouldn't expect. Yeah. Talk to me about, your head into the fight. But, was you feeling good, into the end of the second round, going into the third? What was the mindset? What was you feeling?
Yeah. It was awkward. Like when I first finished the fight and asked us how I felt, and I was like, oh, I'm disappointed. I could have been cleaner. But watching it back in hindsight, there was a lot of things that went well, better than I could remember, obviously, at the time, because I'd just been bashed in the head. But he was just awkward, and I dealt with him the best I could, you know what I mean? Like, I was giving him subtle feints, and his reaction wasn't the normal reaction you expect. Like, he would more bull rushes, so then I would have to adapt. It was more turned into a closer clinch and break on the strike on the break type of fight, rather than I wanted to, not tit for tat, but break him down with a striking. But the range wasn't what I was expecting. It was either he's fully in or he's fully out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a question on my mind, but completely forgot it. But we rolling. Yeah. Next outing, what does that look like for you? And obviously we're talking off air again. You said maybe next show in Cage Warriors. If that can happen, I think that's November 23rd off the top of my head. Is that what you would like next year aiming for?
Yeah, like that would be perfect. Really, it would be another class experience, another good opportunity for me. Second pro fight, if it was on Cage Warriors. If it's not, then it's not. But obviously, ideally, you can't go wrong with that. You know what I mean? It'd be mint. The whole setup's mint. So,
I mean, a win on Cage Warriors on your debut. Yeah. I'm sure they will maybe be on the phone again for the Jackson Clarke signature. Is that what you like?
Hopefully, yeah. I would like that. Like everything, the reaction to everything on my media and stuff. Obviously, I'm not really like the biggest personality on me Instagram or whatever. Just turn it public. You know what I mean? Like, I get told to put it public, but it's been mint. Like people just messaging us, being like, "Oh, watch you on the telly." Oh, big respect. You're young. You've got like a good career ahead of you. It's just been when you're doing amateur fights, no one really sees it. You know what I mean? Besides people
Sometimes it's not on TV.
Yeah, like the people that go to the event, but they don't even remember because they're drunk. So it's not really like you could have a hard fight against a good kid, and no one even knows about it. You know what I mean? So it's a bit like you don't get the same sort of reaction.
Yeah, has that been the biggest difference for you turning pro? Is the recognition from people that you've never ever talked to, but just seen you at an event or on the TV?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm just normal, like, nerdy kid who comes to the gym. You know what I mean? Training, and then next thing you know, on the telly, and people are like, oh, I seen your son on the telly, and it's like, just weird. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Obviously, you talked about nerdy. what's that in terms of fan of MMA, fan of anything? What we nerdy for? What's
yeah,
that?
well, it's just not the typical, like, you know what I mean, like into the same sort of things as other people. Like, you just keep myself, not really very sociable. You know what I mean? Probably a bit anxious, a bit awkward. Just like training, really. It's all I do. That's me social life, and that's me profession now. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I just remember the question. Actually, so after the fight, what would you do differently, if anything, if you could replay that, the fight again? What subtle changes, if could be made? What would you make?
there's a few adjustments that, in hindsight, would have or could have ended the fight sooner or capitalised on positions. Like, there was a position in the second round, I had him against the cage with his back, and I went full mount and rushed it instead of, like, I could have collected his legs, triangled his legs, Khabib'd him, wrist locked. Like, you know what I mean, the handcuffed, or at least attempted that. I should have secured his legs basically against the cage without jumping straight him on, because he just stood up. But I suppose it let us land a clean elbow as he stood up.
Yeah. To top it off, would the finish been, the cherry on top of the cake? Would have been, sweet?
It would have been good. He was very tough. He took a lot of, like, abuse to the head. But the two spinning elbows were pretty cool. Even though I couldn't get the finish off, I don't know how he was still standing. I mean, respect to him.
Yeah. So hopefully, Jackson, next one in Cage Warriors, Newcastle. That's what we're aiming for. I'd love to see. I think they would be looking at you again to get you, especially on the Newcastle card. You're local, easy for you to travel, etc. Blah blah blah. I would like to see you on there. So I'm rooting for you, and I'm hoping someone from Cage Warriors is maybe watching this and they're looking at, we'll get this kid back on. So if there is anyone, what is the message?
Cage Warriors, Newcastle, next event.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jackson Clarke, an absolute pleasure. A fantastic prospect to look out for, especially in the northeast. If you're a local person or local fan, make sure you keep a close eye on Jackson. An absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, mate, and I'll catch you real soon. Thank you very much.